Just walk away. Just walk away, and there will be an end to the horror.
So I was asked to do a video on Oneitis by a subscriber of mine. I'm not going to drop any names. And what I noticed immediately was that he or she was obsessed with me doing this video. Over and over again, he or she continued to ask me, and almost desperately ask me to do this video. Now, when I was first asked to do this, I had no idea what Oneitis was. So I looked it up. And here is just one definition that I found online. I don't know how accurate this definition is. I don't know how much this definition can represent the entire idea of Oneitis, but this is one I found. I'm going to read it through first and then get on with my video.
Oneitis is a common affliction amongst nerds, especially nerds who are relatively inexperienced with relationships. Unlike many similar afflictions, Oneitis can be found equally amongst men and women, among homosexuals and heterosexuals, and much to the dismay of everyone around the victim, cases of Oneitis can linger for years. Oneitis, put bluntly, is a crush gone out of control and turned into something that's a borderline obsession. Sufferers from Oneitis become fixated on one person and believe that nobody else in the world could possibly measure up to how perfect they are. In its earliest stages, Oneitis feels almost exactly like the honeymoon period of a new relationship. Everything they do is fascinating, and you just can't stop staring at them when you think they aren't looking. You do surreptitious, deep breathing exercises in their vicinity, just so that you can properly appreciate how good they smell. The way the sunlight glints in their hair is hypnotic. You look their name up in the phone book just so you can see it in print. You find yourself imagining all those happily ever afters that you know are coming. Sometimes you have the 2.5 kids, the 1.8 cars, and the house in the suburbs. Sometimes you're the arty bohemian couple that's at the center of the cultural life in a big city. And sometimes, not often, but sometimes, it's just the two of you in a chalet in the Swiss Alps, in a dream montage that looks suspiciously like the Nestle white chocolate commercials from the 80s. Unfortunately, this glorious honeymoon period is also entirely one-sided. Yep, your crush is utterly unrequited. It's like being back in junior high again, and you can't stop thinking about that cute girl who sat 3 seats down from you in geometry. But she doesn't know you exist.
Now, this concept of Oneitis, when I looked it up and I studied it, it seems to be something of an obsession, but I don't agree completely with the definition that I just read to you, especially when it says about nerds. Nerds, it affects nerds. What is a nerd? Define it. A person that doesn't have the social skills to communicate with the opposite sex? Is that what it means? I'm not sure what the author of this definition meant by that. However, after reading it all and looking through it, I do believe that this is an obsession that is usually unhealthy. But are obsessions limited to an uncontrollable attraction to another person? A person can be obsessed with drugs, attention to themselves, personal comeliness, aka taking selfies, sports, food, etc. But are all obsessions unhealthy? Is it unhealthy to have an obsession with doing good to other people? The way I see it is that being obsessed with almost anything is a road to self-destruction. I personally have never suffered from Oneitis. I've had girlfriends. I've known girls that I was attracted to. I've even felt jealousy towards women who had thrown my advances away like trash. But I have never been so obsessed over a woman that it completely took over my mental health. And this is what this is. It's a mental health issue. If Oneitis is what I am being told it is, then if you suffer from it, you need to keep yourself safe. You need to seek help. But maybe, just maybe, and this is what therapists won't tell you, maybe you can help yourself. Yes, you can help yourself. You don't need somebody to assist you along this journey. The journey is life itself. But in the meantime, as making this video, I will tell you a story, a personal story about myself that might help you help yourself. I remember when I was a young man in my early 20s, and I met a beautiful, beautiful young woman during a game of hide and seek in this art school that was closed for the weekend. Myself and some friends went into the school after hours and played this game of hide and seek. I mean, it was a huge building. One of my male friends was a student, and he was entrusted with the key to that building, so we were allowed to go in after hours and play our silly games. And during this rousing game, I remember being one of those seeking the other hiders. And while doing this, I found a girl, this one special girl, hiding behind a couch in a large room. I peered over the couch, I saw her, in other words, I found her, and our eyes met. Me peering over the back of the couch, her staring back up at me from this crouched position, trying to hide herself, but with a smile on her face. I eventually began dating this woman, a beautiful, young, and nubile English girl with thick, long blonde hair, wonderful breasts, and a solid body, milky skin, and dreamy gray eyes. But I was a young man at that time, not knowing anything of females and their nature, nor anything of how men and women truly relate. I eventually dated this woman for 2 years, and she eventually just left me for reasons at the time I couldn't understand, and I was crushed. I went into a period of obsession, keyword obsession, where I felt I had to find a reason for her disapproval of me and win her back. I kept tabs on her. I even followed her one night to find out where she was going without me. After all, she may have grown distant and decided she didn't want to be with me anymore, but she never officially said that our relationship was over. Well, at least that is how I perceived it at the time. Now, I remember finding her car parked outside of an apartment building when I could have sworn we were still together. So I found an old chair. Yes, I found an old chair in a park that was just across the street from the apartment that her car was parked in front of. And I pulled up that chair in the dark and I sat. I just sat in this rusty old chair in a park and I waited for her to come back to her car. I wanted to see for myself what she was hiding. Where is she coming from? Why she was staying away from me. I refused to believe that our relationship was over. And then it started to rain. And it rained hard. There I was, sitting on this rusty old chair in a torrent of rain, waiting for this girl to come out of that apartment. I was beyond drenched and shivering from the rain and cold, but I continued to wait. Finally, after what had maybe been at least 2 hours, I watched her come out with another guy. They walked to her car, she kissed him goodnight, and drove away. Aha! I thought. I got her. She had been cheating on me for a long time, and obviously for some time while we were still together. But nothing good ever came out of that obsession. I learned a lesson that day as a young man, maybe 20 years old. Although I didn't understand that lesson at the time. And in the end, I did finally confront her about this, and she admitted to her infidelity. I was angry. She was sad. Typical story. After that ridiculous episode in my life, do you know what I did? I took all the money I had, bought some musical instruments that I needed, packed up all that I already had in my possession, bought a bus ticket, and left to a tiny village in the middle of Vancouver Island. I rented a small house, met some friends, started a band, and enjoyed some of the best years of my life. I played music, I farmed oysters, I mapped trails for Parks Canada, I grew marijuana, I sailed boats, I fucked marine biology students who were studying at a local school, I chopped wood to heat my little cabin, I made friends, I lived in a tent on the beach during the summer season. I even found another girlfriend who owned a wolf dog that I used to take for walks through the forest and ran into black bears and big wild cats. And the best part was that girl that I had obsessed about for so long, she found me. She sought me out on this little tiny peninsula village on the far west coast of Vancouver Island. She contacted me and came to visit me. She came to my tent on the beach, and we took magic mushrooms and swam in the Pacific Ocean naked in the bioluminescence, and then made love on the beach. And then my new girlfriend, who I had just got, caught us sleeping naked together on the beach one morning, and she threw hot tea in my face. But the best part of all of this is that at that point I didn't give a fuck anymore, because I realized that I had taken control of my own life. And by doing so, the women I had originally obsessed about started looking for me. I was focused on myself, my own happiness, and that took me to a tiny fishing village on the west coast of Vancouver Island, where I played my music in a band and fucked marine biology college girls every day, and where I grew and I smoked my own ganja. Now this happiness from this story I'm telling you, it drew my ex-girlfriend to me. She came to me without me obsessing over her. She came to me to swim naked in the bioluminescence of the Pacific Ocean on mushrooms. She came to me and fucked me on the beach while my other girlfriend became jealous. Now, I understood at this point that I had taken control of my own life, my own happiness. And the women came to me without giving me any concerns, even the woman who had thrown me out in the past. The point of me telling this story to anyone who believes they suffer from so-called Oneitis is this: go your own fucking way. Concern yourself with your own happiness. Fill your life with the joy that you can only give yourself, because one day you might not be able to do that anymore. You might get too old. You might have a child. You might have too many other responsibilities to other people. And when those things happen, it's too late. If you have Oneitis, you need to leave where you are right now. You need to pack up your things and go. You don't even need a destination. You just need to go. The world is large. It is grand. It is a grand realm with so much space, and you have to use it before it's too late. Thank you for listening to this video. I love you, brothers. Be safe and be wise and be MGTOW.